Hello, and welcome to this presentation on the Department of Trade, Employment and Training's Growing Workforce Participation Fund. The Growing Workforce Participation Fund is one of many financial and non-financial programs available through the Queensland Government's Back to Work program. Back to Work is designed to give businesses the confidence to employ Queenslanders who have experienced a period of unemployment and help workers facing disadvantage in the labour market. In the spirit of reconciliation, the Department of Trade, Employment and Training recognises the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. We pay our respect to their elders, past and present, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples today. Back to Work focuses on supporting ongoing employment opportunities for job seekers from identified target groups and to support businesses to build inclusive workplaces. The eligible target groups for the fund include young people aged 15 to 24 years, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples, people with disability, culturally and linguistically diverse people, and long-term unemployed people. Eligible delivery locations include regional Queensland and the following local government areas within southeast Queensland: Ipswich, Lockyer Valley, Logan, Moreton Bay, Scenic Rim and Somerset. The industry offering of the Back to Work program is the Growing Workforce Participation Fund, which is referred to as the fund throughout this presentation. This is the fourth round of the fund, which recognises the importance of industry engagement in creating long-term sustainable employment outcomes for people who experience greater disadvantage in the labour market. There is $1.5 million in funding available through this round. Grant funding of $20,000 up to $200,000 is available to industry organisations or not-for-profit community-based organisations to boost workforce participation for projects that can assist with the breaking down of barriers facing the program's target groups in fully participating in the labour market. The fund enables and encourages collaborative projects and may include the participation of local governments, partnerships with regional industry groups and target representative groups, including organisations who represent identified groups. The fund will provide industry-led solutions to employment shortages and retention challenges in the Back to Work program target locations and provide greater industry-specific support for disadvantaged and vulnerable target groups. The fund will provide opportunities for industry groups to focus on their future while also providing job seekers with new pathways and opportunities. The department encourages collaborative projects and may include the participation of local governments, consortium partnerships with regional industry groups and cohort representative groups. However, applications must be submitted by an eligible provider. For those industry organisations and cohort representative organisations wanting to establish a partnership, the application must be submitted by an eligible provider, and only one application per eligible provider is permitted per funding round. The breakdown of proposed funding between the partnerships must be detailed as part of the proposed project budget. Eligible organisations include the following: industry associations, defined as an organisation representing an industry, including peak business and employer organisations and industry advisory bodies such as industry skills councils, chambers of commerce and industry, local councils in eligible Back to Work delivery areas, community-based organisations and social enterprises. Grant funding is available for projects that can assist with the breaking down of barriers facing the target groups in participating in the labour market, including a strong focus on promoting and supporting retention. All projects must be evidence-based and have measurable outcomes. Eligible activities include projects that aim to increase labour market participation and engagement from target groups, provide pre-employment support, address industry-identified employment shortages, or provide new methods of workforce planning and development and supporting resources. Funded organisations must specify target numbers of job seekers, employers, and/or employees to be assisted over the life of the project. In addition to these specified targets, the following standard KPIs will be applicable, including for the number of employees assisted, at least 95% of that target must be achieved. For the number of employees being assisted, at least 95% of that target must be achieved. For the number of job seekers assisted, at least 95% of that target must be achieved, and of those job seekers assisted, a minimum of 55% are successfully employed at the completion of the project. Other project KPIs will be established based on approved project specifications. The Guidelines for Funding provides a table with examples of eligible activities. This list is by no means exhaustive, and we encourage applicants to think of projects that will suit the objectives for their industry. Eligible activity categories include projects that aim to increase labour market participation and engagement from the target groups. An example activity for that category may include development of contemporary solutions to overcome barriers and increase accessibility to jobs in the Queensland labour market. Pre-employment support projects. An example activity may include new programs and approaches that support the target groups through job matching, enterprise skills development, mentoring, and workplace experience. Workforce development and resources. The development of attraction and recruitment strategies for the industry to create sustainable pathways for the target groups into employment. Projects that address industry-identified employment shortages. Solutions that examine, explore, and trial new employment approaches to industry-specific employment shortages with the purpose of creating long-term sustainable employment. Ineligible activities for the fund include work that is deemed core business for the applicant or partners, any project or part thereof that has or may be funded under another government program, recurring costs for the organisation, for example ongoing staff costs not related to the project, established positions within the organisation, normal operating costs including utilities and building lease costs, and core functions of the organisation. Purchase of assets, capital equipment or significant assets including buildings or vehicles. Retrospective payments for expenses already incurred prior to grant funding approval or for work already undertaken. Costs for consultants, contractors or other suppliers of services that are financially associated entities with the applicant. Travel costs including hiring and leasing of transport, airfares and fuel. However, in recognition of transport restrictions in rural and remote areas in Queensland, travel costs may be considered if it is critical to enabling full participation of the eligible activities. Costs associated with attendance at domestic and international trade shows, and any other cost deemed ineligible by the department. It should be noted that funding from other sources must be disclosed. Funding is not available for projects, equipment and/or services that are eligible for funding under other Back to Work or other DETECT funded programs or that are being funded through other initiatives and programs. All the information just mentioned is contained within the fund's guidelines and terms and conditions. Applications will be assessed in 2 stages. Stage 1 involves the assessment of applications by the department against the capacity to manage criteria, which looks at the organisation's financial viability, organisational structure, risk management and reporting framework, experience in managing government funds, and the project team. Project innovation looks at project objectives, outcomes, project innovation including evidence of how the project addresses issues using contemporary solutions, commitment that the project supports the objectives of the Back to Work program, and links to local stakeholders, including employers and other organisations. Addresses and responds to industry need. Looks at demonstrated industry demand, evidence-based and benefit duplication with other programs and services, including clear articulation on how the project differs from normal business activities and capacity to meet employment shortages and labour market needs. Outcomes and sharing best practice. Defined key performance indicators for project delivery. Define project success, the measurable outcomes of success, and how these will be incorporated in project implementation and outcomes reporting. Explanation of the economic and social impact of the project. The commitment to sharing learnings with industry and government and what mechanisms and channels this information will be shared. And cost value for money. Evidence of how the project is the most suitable option. Ability to deliver proposed outcomes within the project delivery period. Level of in-kind assistance and funding access from other sources, and clear articulation to explain why government funding is required for the project. All documents to support your funding application must be provided at the same time as your online application. This must include, but is not limited to, a comprehensive project plan, including KPIs and a detailed budget, project impact assessment plan, outlining what the project is trying to achieve, how the project will support economic and social outcomes, what success looks like, how it will be measured, what impact the project will achieve regionally within the industry and the target groups, risk identification and management plan, 2 years of audited financial statements. However, if the organisation is a new entity and financial statements are not available, additional information will be required. Access to the grant applications portal is now live on Smarty Grants, so potential applicants can now register for their account. The online portal will allow applicants to preview the application form and download a preview copy of the form. The header on the form will say Department of Customer Service, Open Data and Small and Family Business. This is because, due to recent machinery of government changes, this department is now hosting the Smarty Grants account. However, if you see Growing Workforce Participation Fund Round 4, you are in the right place. Once registered, the organisation can access the online application form and complete the application. Once the application form has been completed, it can be submitted for assessment. The assessment process will commence after the closing date of 30th of April 2025. All applications will undergo Stage 1 and 2 assessment, as outlined in the Fund's guidelines and terms and conditions. Following Stage 1 and 2 assessment, applications will progress to an independent moderation panel. Applicants will be notified of the outcome of their application at the completion of that process. Successful applicants will be issued service agreements with first payments made following the execution of those agreements. Applications opened on 5th of March 2025 and will close at 5 p.m. 30th of April 2025. There is no provision for the acceptance of late applications after the closure date or the submission of further documentation. The application must be submitted by an eligible provider, and only one application per eligible provider is permitted per funding round. Further information, including links to the guidelines for funding, terms and conditions, and other relevant templates, are available on the Growing Workforce Participation Fund website. You can also contact us via email at gwpf@desbert.qld.gov.au.